device, feeling its cold, smooth surface bite into his palms. Every instinct told him that opening it now could unleash a truth too vast, too dangerous to comprehend. Yet the weight of waiting pressed harder. A tension coiled around his chest like iron bands. Illyra shifted beside him, her small frame trembling not from fear, but from the energy that seemed to hum in the air. Her eyes never left the device, never left him, and in that gaze Marcus found a strange comfort, an unspoken promise that they would face whatever came together. The wind carried a metallic tang, the scent of burned earth from distant ruins, as if the world itself was holding its breath alongside them. They moved slowly across the broken bridge, careful not to disturb the balance that kept them safe. Every step was deliberate, every sound magnified in the eerie silence that followed the tremor. Marcus could feel the pulse of the device beneath his fingertips, almost like a heartbeat, subtle yet insistent. It demanded recognition without giving itself away, teasing with a promise of revelations that would change everything. The river below reflected fractured light from the gray sky, ripples distorting the image like pieces of a broken mirror. Marcus watched the water, remembering the cities that had been swallowed by war, the people lost to chaos, the families scattered like ash on the wind. The thought of them pressed on his chest, reminding him that the secrets in his hands were not just about power. They were about survival, about truth, about the future of a nation. A distant shadow flitted across the horizon, fast and deliberate, vanishing before he could identify its source. Marcus tightened his jaw, scanning the ruins, the forest, the smoke curling from burned towns. Every instinct screamed caution, yet the desire to uncover the truth gnawed at him, persistent and unyielding. Illyra finally spoke, her voice low, almost a whisper. She said she had seen things, small pieces of what the device might reveal. She had glimpsed maps, lists of names, coded messages, and she had survived when most would have perished. Her words hung in the air, their weight amplified by the silence around them. It was a confirmation of what Marcus already feared. The device was more than a tool. It was a key, a weapon, a ledger of truths that no one wanted unearthed. Marcus' fingers hovered over the class again, ready to act, ready to unlock the secrets. The device resisted, still silent, still withholding. The anticipation stretched time into something fluid, something almost unbearable. Every shadow seemed to move with intention, every gust of wind carrying a suggestion of danger. Then the tremor returned, subtle this time, beneath the bridge and through Marcus' bones. It was rhythmic, deliberate, like a pulse of the world, counting down to something neither of them could see. The river churned faintly, carrying the reflection of gray clouds and a hint of light that promised change. Illyra's grip tightened on the device. Marcus shifted, taking a slow breath, listening to the silence that followed the tremor. Every nerve in his body felt alive, alert to the subtlest changes around them. He looked into Illyra's eyes again and saw a mirror of his own resolve, of the weight of decisions yet to be made. The device remained closed, humming quietly, teasing them, holding back its revelation with deliberate patience. Hours seemed to stretch, though he knew it could only be minutes. The wind shifted, carrying the scent of something new, something distant but undeniably present. Marcus pressed the device closer to his chest, as if by doing so he could force it to reveal its secret. Yet the world offered nothing, only a taut silence that felt alive. The bridge creaked beneath them. The river whispered against its supports. The clouds above twisted and churned. Marcus felt the tremor beneath his feet again, stronger this time, like the heartbeat of something immense moving far below the surface of the world. He glanced at Illyra, whose gaze remained fixed on the horizon, unwavering, patient, and yet brimming with unspoken urgency. The shadow on the horizon returned, sharper this time, lingering just at the edge of vision, impossible to track. Marcus' pulse quickened, his fingers tightening on the device, but the shadow did not approach. It was an observer, a presence, a reminder that the world itself was waiting for the moment of revelation, but not yet. He opened his mouth to speak, to break the silence, to claim a word of reassurance, but no sound left him. The weight of the device, the tremors in the earth, the unspoken tension in the air, all conspired to silence him. Illyra leaned slightly into him, not for comfort, but as if sharing in the suspended reality that wrapped around them. The moment stretched, unbroken, suspended on the edge of possibility. The device pulsed faintly against Marcus' palm, a quiet thrum that promised revelation, power, and danger all at once. He could almost feel it drawing out the truth, testing their patience, knowing that when finally opened, the world would never be the same. And then, as the wind howled to the broken bridge and the shadows danced at the periphery of vision, the device remained silent. The truth refused to emerge. Marcus' hand hovered over it, poised, the anticipation almost unbearable, yet the moment of revelation never came. The audience, the world, and the two of them remained suspended in that perfect tension. All around them, the war-scarred land seemed to lean in, waiting, watching, holding its breath. And Marcus, feeling the tremor pulse beneath him once more, understood with clarity that the most dangerous part of this war was not what had already happened, but what they had yet to uncover. The device vibrated faintly in his palm, but it did not open. The shadow remained just out of reach. The wind carried the scent of distant fire, and the world waited, suspended, like the beat of a heart that might never fall. And in that waiting, the story itself stretched onward, endless, unresolved, drawing everyone into a tension that could not be broken, for now. Marcus stood on the broken bridge, the device still clutched in his hands, its secrets withheld like a silent challenge. Illyra remained at his side, small but steadfast, her gaze sweeping the horizon as if trying to read the invisible threads of the world. The wind whispered through the skeletal remains of the bridge, carrying dust, ash, and the faint scent of rain from distant clouds. The tremors beneath their feet had ceased, leaving only a quiet tension that seemed heavier than the war itself. Marcus lowered the device slowly, letting its weight sink into his palms. He felt the pulse of the land in a way he had never experienced before, its scars, its memories, its anticipation. For a long moment he said nothing, not because there was nothing to say, but because words could not capture the gravity of the silence around them. Illyra's hand brushed against his arm. She did not speak, but her presence carried a calm certainty that anchored him. They both understood that the device, the shadow, and the tremors were pieces of a larger story, one far greater than themselves, one that would unfold in its own time. Marcus finally exhaled, a slow, deliberate breath that felt like letting the air carry away some of the tension lodged deep in his chest. He looked down at the device, then back at the horizon. The clouds had shifted, revealing thin ribbons of sunlight that cut through the gray, striking the river below like shards of gold. It was a small promise, fragile and fleeting, but enough to remind him that even in destruction, there was still light. He took a step back from the edge of the bridge, careful and measured, and felt the weight of responsibility settle fully on his shoulders. The device could wait. The world, for now, would wait. Illyra leaned into him slightly, her eyes reflecting both fear and hope, and Marcus nodded almost imperceptibly. They would continue forward together, through the ruins, through the shadows of conflict, toward whatever truth lay hidden beyond the tremors and the smoke. Somewhere beyond the horizon, a faint movement caught his eye, a shadow passing between distant ruins, quick and deliberate. Marcus' pulse quickened for a moment, but the figure vanished before he could discern its shape or intent. The war had changed everything, and yet it had left threads unresolved, mysteries waiting, truths withheld. The device pulsed quietly, a heartbeat in the silence, as if aware that its moment had not yet arrived. Marcus and Illyra stood side by side, silent, watching, waiting. The river below whispered against the bridge's supports. The wind carried the echo of distant fires, of cities lost, of lives irrevocably altered, and the sky stretched vast and gray above them, holding the weight of everything that had passed, and everything yet to come. The story did not end. It paused. It lingered in the air, heavy with anticipation, drawing them, and everyone who followed them, into the quiet certainty that the next step, the next revelation would come, but not yet. Marcus tightened his grip on the device once more and looked at Illyra. Her eyes met his, steady, unflinching, ready for what was to come. They turned together, stepping carefully off the broken bridge, moving forward into the unknown. The war had changed America forever, and in its shadows, they would continue, carrying the weight of the past and the promise of truths still waiting to be revealed. The horizon stretched endlessly, gray and unbroken, holding secrets they were only beginning to understand. And somewhere in that silence, the device pulsed once more, faint but insistent, a heartbeat of a story that was far from over. The journey continued, and the world waited.